Carl Jung once said that for a narcissist, the most frightening thing isn't your anger, it's your indifference. By the time you reach the end of this, you'll fully understand why those words change the way you see every narcissistic relationship. If you've ever been caught in a narcissist's trap, you know that deep exhaustion, the manipulation, and the constant doubt about your own reality. But here's something most people miss, and what Jung uncovered through decades of studying. The human mind. There comes a point when the balance of power shifts completely. And strangely enough, the narcissist senses it before you do. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 psychological signs that prove you haven't just survived a narcissist, you've actually defeated them. The surprising part, you might not even realize you've already won. But believe me, they know. Stay close, because sign number 5 will completely change how you view your healing process. And sign number 7, that's the one that throws a narcissist into a total psychological breakdown. Sign 1. Your silence turns into their loudest nightmare. Jung found that narcissists rely on something he calls psychic feeding. They live off your emotional reactions to keep their false sense of self alive. But once you reach what Jung described as psychological detachment, something remarkable happens. Your silence is no longer the silent treatment, because that's still a form of manipulation. This is different. This is what he called individuation. You become so mentally independent that you no longer explain, defend, or justify yourself to anyone. And here's the truth Jung understood: narcissists can't manipulate silence. They can't twist it, control it, or interpret it. Your silence creates a mental emptiness, a vacuum they can't fill. But there's more power in this than you might think. Sign 2. The people they control, often called flying monkeys, begin to drift away. According to Jung, narcissists form what he calls psychological satellites. People who revolve around their false reality. These enablers once believed every word of their story. But Jung noticed something fascinating. When you truly free yourself mentally, these satellites start to float away on their own. Why? Because you've stopped feeding the drama that kept them in orbit. Others begin noticing patterns. They see that chaos follows the narcissist everywhere. And slowly, they realize you were never the problem. Jung called this a collective awakening. When many people see through the narcissist's mask at the same time as their support system collapses, they understand it's because you've become untouchable. But the next sign is where things get even more interesting. Sign 3. They try to copy your healing. This is where Jung's research gets especially interesting. He discovered narcissists engage in hollow mimicry, copying actions without genuine change. When they see you growing, healing, and becoming stronger, they panic. Suddenly they talk about self-improvement, therapy, or spiritual growth. But Jung warned, look deeper. Their imitation is missing the real pain that drives true transformation. While you've been doing the hard work of shadow integration, they've been putting on a show. They're not trying to heal. They're trying to compete with your peace. But Jung knew something they don't. You can't fake real psychological growth. And here's the most revealing truth: they copy you because you've become everything they can't genuinely free. Sign 4. Their attempts to pull you back fail completely. Jung described the most desperate act of a narcissist as psychological hoovering. trying to suck you back into their world. They'll try false apologies, sentimental memories, or sudden love declarations. But when you've gained true mental sovereignty, their attempts don't just fail, they don't even register. You see through them instantly, because you've built what Jung calls psychological immunity. You don't get angry, hopeful, or even satisfied, you feel nothing. And that nothing is everything. Jung said indifference is the narcissist's greatest fear, because it means they no longer exist in your mind. Once they realize their hoovering has no effect, they enter narcissistic collapse, knowing they've lost their grip on you forever. But wait until you hear sign number 5. Sign 5. They become invisible in your mind. Jung believed the ultimate win against a narcissist isn't defeating them, it's when they simply become irrelevant to your life. This is psychological transcendence. You're not thinking about them, talking about them, or avoiding them, they're just gone from your mental space. And here's the twist, they can feel this invisibility, and it drives them mad. Narcissists have a strange sense for when they've been erased from someone's thoughts. That awareness triggers what Jung called existential terror. They might stir up chaos, make scenes, or push to get your attention back. But the more they try, the clearer their defeat becomes. You've reached a place they never can: complete mental freedom. Sign 6. Their smear campaign loses all power. Jung said that when a narcissist feels powerless, they turn to psychological warfare, smearing your reputation to keep their false story alive. But his research revealed something stunning. Once you've healed, their lies fade into meaningless noise. People stop listening, stop caring, and begin connecting the dots, realizing the narcissist is always at the center of trouble. Jung called this a collective psychological awakening, when an entire group sees through the manipulation at once. And the most crushing part for them, you're not even defending yourself, you're just living peacefully. That quiet, genuine life says more than their lies ever could. Jung reminded us truth needs no defense. It stands on its own. Their smear efforts backfire, making their desperation obvious. Sign 7. They suffer what Jung calls psychological death. Here's Jung's most powerful finding about narcissists: their whole identity depends on controlling and manipulating others. When that control is gone, they face psychological death, the collapse of their false self. Jung understood that they don't have a real identity, only a constructed one built on manipulation. When you become immune to it, you're not just winning, you're watching their entire false image crumble. This can make them unpredictable or even dangerous. As they face existential panic, the fear of not knowing who they are without control over you. But here's the beautiful part: your healing doesn't just free you, it reveals them. Not for revenge, but because true healing shines a light that exposes shadows. Jung's final insight about narcissistic ties was this: their biggest fear is not your hatred, but your healing, because healing proves every cruel thing they said about you was a lie. If you've reached these 7 signs, you haven't just survived, you've risen above them. You've become what Jung calls psychologically sovereign, completely free from their distorted reality. And here's the most beautiful truth: you may not have even known you were winning. You were simply focused on growing, healing, and becoming who you were meant to be. That's the real victory. True freedom isn't about defeating the narcissist, it's about being so authentically yourself that they no longer exist in your mind. They know they've lost even if you didn't realize it. And now, you know too. That knowledge is the last key to your complete psychological freedom.